What if I told you that every problem in your life, every setback, every moment of frustration, every financial struggle, every emotional breakdown, every regret you've ever had could be traced back to your inability to control just four things: your mouth, your mind, your mood, and your money? Right now, as you're listening to this, one of these four areas is probably sabotaging your life. Maybe you said something you shouldn't have said and it cost you a relationship. Maybe your mind is running wild with anxiety and self-doubt. Maybe your emotions are controlling your decisions instead of you controlling them. Or maybe you're watching money slip through your fingers month after month while you wonder where it all went. Here's the brutal truth that most people refuse to accept. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are not unlucky. You are not cursed. You are simply out of control. And until you learn to master these four fundamental areas, you will continue to live a life that happens to you instead of a life that you create. But here's the good news. Once you understand how to control your mouth, mind, mood, and money, everything changes. Your relationships improve. Your confidence skyrockets. Your emotional stability becomes unshakable. Your financial situation transforms. You become the architect of your own destiny instead of a passenger in your own life. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to take control of all four areas. This isn't theory. This isn't wishful thinking. These are practical, actionable strategies that you can implement immediately to start seeing real results in your life. So if you're ready to stop being controlled by these forces and start controlling them instead, let's begin. Chapter 1. The Foundation of Self-Control. Self-control isn't a talent you're born with or without. It's not a personality trait that some people have and others don't. Self-control is a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed, strengthened, and mastered through deliberate practice and understanding. The first thing you need to understand is that self-control operates like a muscle. Every time you resist an impulse, every time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, every time you delay gratification for a better outcome, you're strengthening this muscle. But just like physical muscles, your self-control muscle can become fatigued, and when it's tired, you're more likely to give in to impulses and make decisions you'll later regret. This is why you might eat perfectly all day but then binge on junk food at night. This is why you might stay focused and productive all morning but find yourself scrolling social media all afternoon. This is why you might handle stress well for weeks but then explode over something minor. Your self-control muscle was depleted. But here's what most people don't realize. You can train this muscle to become stronger and more resilient. You can develop what I call unshakable self-control, where your ability to make good decisions doesn't depend on how you're feeling in the moment or how much willpower you've already used that day. The key is understanding that self-control isn't about fighting against your impulses with brute force. That's exhausting and unsustainable. True self-control is about creating systems and habits that make good decisions automatic. It's about designing your environment so that the right choice is the easy choice. It's about developing a mindset where discipline becomes your default mode of operation. When you understand that your mouth, mind, mood, and money are all interconnected systems, you realize that mastering one area gives you leverage in all the others. The person who learns to control their words develops the mental discipline that helps them control their thoughts. The person who masters their emotions gains the clarity needed to make better financial decisions. The person who takes control of their money develops the confidence that improves their mindset. This interconnection means that every small improvement you make in one area creates a positive ripple effect in all the others. You're not just working on 4 separate problems. You're building a comprehensive system of self-mastery that transforms every aspect of your life. Self-control also requires you to shift from being reactive to being proactive. Most people live in reactive mode, responding to whatever happens to them without conscious choice. They speak without thinking, let their minds wander without direction, allow their emotions to dictate their actions, and spend money without planning. But when you develop true self-control, you become proactive. You choose your words carefully. You direct your thoughts intentionally. You manage your emotions consciously. You allocate your money strategically. The foundation of self-control is self-awareness. You cannot control what you are not aware of. This means paying attention to your patterns, your triggers, your habits, and your automatic responses. It means noticing when you're about to say something you shouldn't, when your mind is spiraling into negativity, when your emotions are starting to overwhelm you, or when you're about to make an impulsive financial decision. Building self-control also requires you to understand the difference between instant gratification and delayed gratification. Our modern world is designed to give us everything instantly. We can get food delivered in minutes, entertainment with the click of a button, and validation through social media likes. But this constant, instant gratification is weakening our ability to delay gratification for better long-term outcomes. The people who master self-control understand that the best things in life require patience, persistence, and the ability to say no to short-term pleasures for long-term gains. They understand that controlling their mouth means sometimes staying quiet when they want to speak. Controlling their mind means focusing on what matters instead of what feels good. Controlling their mood means staying calm when they want to react. And controlling their money means saving and investing instead of spending on immediate wants. Chapter 2. Mastering your mouth. Your mouth is either your greatest asset or your biggest liability. Every word you speak has the power to build relationships or destroy them, to create opportunities or eliminate them, to inspire others or discourage them. Yet most people treat their words carelessly, speaking without thinking, reacting without considering consequences, and wondering why their relationships and opportunities suffer as a result. Mastering your mouth begins with understanding that silence is often more powerful than speech. In a world where everyone feels compelled to share their opinion on everything, the person who knows when to speak and when to remain silent holds tremendous power. Silence gives you time to think, to process, to choose your words carefully. It prevents you from saying things in the heat of the moment that you'll regret later. The first principle of mouth control is the pause. Before you speak, especially when you're emotional, upset, or reactive, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is what I'm about to say helpful? Is it true? Is it necessary? Will it improve the situation or make it worse? This simple pause can save you from countless regrets and damaged relationships. Learn to distinguish between reacting and responding. Reacting is immediate, emotional, and usually regrettable. Responding is thoughtful, measured, and strategic. When someone criticizes you, insults you, or says something that triggers you, your immediate impulse might be to react defensively or aggressively. But the person with mouth control chooses to respond instead. They might say something like, "I need some time to think about what you've said," or "Let me consider your perspective and get back to you." This gives them time to formulate a thoughtful response instead of an emotional reaction. Another crucial aspect of mouth control is understanding the power of your internal dialogue. Most people focus on controlling what they say to others, but they completely neglect what they say to themselves. Your self-talk is perhaps the most important conversation you'll ever have, because it shapes your beliefs, your confidence, and your actions. If you're constantly telling yourself that you're not good enough, that you can't do something, or that you'll never succeed, you're programming yourself for failure. Start paying attention to your internal dialogue. Notice when you're being self-critical, pessimistic, or defeatist. Then consciously choose to change that dialogue. Instead of saying, "I'm terrible at this," say, "I'm learning and improving." Instead of, "I'll never be able to do this," say, "I haven't figured this out yet, but I will." This shift in self-talk might seem small, but it has profound effects on your confidence, motivation, and performance. Mouth control also means learning to ask better questions. Most people make statements that close off conversation and opportunity. But powerful questions open up possibilities. Instead of saying, "This won't work," ask, "How could we make this work?" Instead of, "That's impossible," ask, "What would need to happen for this to be possible?" Questions engage other people's minds and invite collaboration instead of resistance. When it comes to difficult conversations, mouth control means choosing your battles wisely. Not every disagreement needs to become an argument. Not every slight needs to be addressed. Not every mistake needs to be pointed out. Ask yourself, is this worth the potential damage to the relationship? Will addressing this actually improve anything, or am I just venting my frustration? Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let it go. Learn the art of strategic communication. This means understanding your audience and adapting your message accordingly. The way you speak to your boss should be different from how you speak to your friends. The way you communicate with your partner should be different from how you communicate with strangers. This isn't being fake or manipulative, it's being emotionally intelligent and effective. Mouth control also means being intentional about the conversations you engage in. Gossip, complaints, and negative talk are all forms of losing control of your mouth. They drain your energy, damage relationships, and create a negative environment around you. Instead, choose to engage in conversations that are constructive, uplifting, and purposeful. Talk about ideas, goals, solutions, and possibilities instead of problems, drama, and complaints. One of the most important aspects of mouth control is learning to give and receive feedback effectively. When giving feedback, focus on specific behaviors rather than attacking character. Instead of, "You're always late," say, "When you arrive late to meetings, it affects our ability to start on time." When receiving feedback, resist the urge to defend or justify immediately. Listen, ask clarifying questions, and thank the person for their input, even if you disagree with it. Finally, understand that your words have long-term consequences. The harsh words you speak in anger might be forgotten by you, but they can be remembered by others for years. The encouragement you offer might seem small to you, but it could change someone's life. The promises you make create expectations and obligations. Choose your words as if they matter, because they do. Chapter 3. Conquering your mind. Your mind is either your most powerful ally or your most dangerous enemy. It can propel you toward your goals or sabotage your every effort. It can fill you with confidence or paralyze you with doubt. It can focus on solutions or obsess over problems. The difference between success and failure, happiness and misery, often comes down to whether you control your mind or it controls you. The first step in conquering your mind is understanding that your thoughts are not facts. Just because you think something doesn't make it true. Your mind is constantly generating thoughts, many of which are negative, irrational, or unhelpful. The untrained mind tends to focus on worst-case scenarios, past mistakes, and future worries. But when you learn to observe your thoughts without automatically believing them, you gain the power to choose which thoughts to follow and which to dismiss. Mental control begins with developing metacognition, which is thinking about thinking. Start paying attention to your thought patterns. Notice when your mind starts spiraling into negativity. Observe when you're ruminating on past events or worrying about future possibilities. Recognize when you're engaging in self-doubt or self-criticism. This awareness is the first step in regaining control. One of the most powerful techniques for mind control is cognitive reframing. This involves consciously changing how you interpret events and circumstances. Instead of seeing challenges as problems, reframe them as opportunities to grow. Instead of viewing failures as proof of your inadequacy, see them as valuable learning experiences. Instead of interpreting criticism as personal attacks, consider them as feedback for improvement. For example, if you don't get a job you applied for, your mind might automatically think, "I'm not good enough," or "I'll never find a good job." But through reframing, you could think, "This wasn't the right fit, but it's getting me closer to the right opportunity." Or, "I can use this experience to improve my interview skills for next time." Same situation, completely different mental and emotional impact. Your mind also needs direction and focus. Without clear goals and priorities, your mind will wander aimlessly, often gravitating toward negative or unproductive thoughts. Set clear, specific goals for yourself and regularly remind your mind of these objectives. When your thoughts start to drift, redirect them back to your goals and the actions you need to take to achieve them. Develop the habit of mental rehearsal. Athletes use this technique to improve their performance by mentally practicing their sport before competing. You can use the same approach for any area of your life. If you have an important presentation, mentally rehearse delivering it successfully. If you're working toward a goal, visualize yourself achieving it. This mental practice prepares your brain for success and increases your confidence when it's time to perform. Learn to challenge negative thought patterns. When you catch yourself thinking something negative or limiting, ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is it based on facts or assumptions? What evidence do I have that supports this thought? What evidence contradicts it? How would I advise a friend who was thinking this way? This questioning process helps you evaluate your thoughts objectively rather than accepting them automatically. Concentration and focus are critical aspects of mind control. In our distraction-filled world, the ability to maintain sustained attention on important tasks is becoming increasingly rare and valuable. Practice single-tasking instead of multitasking. When you're working on something important, eliminate distractions. Turn off notifications, close unnecessary browser tabs, and create an environment that supports focused attention. Develop a morning mental routine that sets the tone for your day. This might include meditation, affirmations, goal review, or reading something inspirational. How you start your day mentally often determines how the rest of your day unfolds. If you begin with purposeful, positive thoughts, you're more likely to maintain that mental state throughout the day. Mind control also involves managing information input. Your mind is influenced by everything you read, watch, and listen to. If you're constantly consuming negative news, gossip, or content that makes you feel inadequate, your mind will reflect that input. Be intentional about what you allow into your mental space. Choose books, podcasts, videos, and conversations that educate, inspire, and elevate your thinking. Learn to use your mind's natural problem-solving abilities. Instead of letting your mind worry about problems, direct it to focus on solutions. When you're facing a challenge, ask your mind specific questions. What are 3 possible ways to solve this? What resources do I have available? Who could help me with this? What would someone I admire do in this situation? Your mind is incredibly creative when you give it clear problems to solve. Practice mental discipline through meditation or mindfulness. These practices train your mind to focus on the present moment, rather than getting lost in past regrets or future anxieties. Even 10 minutes of daily meditation can significantly improve your ability to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them. Start small and be consistent rather than trying to meditate for long periods sporadically. Finally, understand that conquering your mind is an ongoing process, not a one-time achievement. Your mind will continue to generate negative thoughts, worries, and distractions. The goal isn't to eliminate these completely, but to develop the skill to recognize them quickly and redirect your mental energy toward more productive directions. With practice, you'll find that you can maintain mental clarity and focus even in challenging circumstances. Chapter 4. Managing your mood. Your mood is like the weather of your inner world. It affects how you perceive everything around you, how you interact with others, and what actions you're motivated to take. When you're in a good mood, opportunities seem everywhere. People appear friendlier, and challenges feel manageable. When you're in a bad mood, everything seems harder. People irritate you more easily, and even small problems feel overwhelming. Most people treat their mood as something that happens to them, as if they're victims of their emotional weather. They wake up and check their mood like they check the weather forecast, then let that mood dictate their entire day. But mood management is a skill you can develop. You can learn to influence your emotional state consciously and maintain emotional stability regardless of external circumstances. The first principle of mood management is understanding that your mood is largely determined by 3 factors: your physiology, your focus, and your language. Change any one of these, and your mood will shift. Change all 3, and you can completely transform how you feel in a matter of minutes. Your physiology includes your posture, breathing, facial expressions, and movement. When you're in a negative mood, your body reflects it. You might slouch, breathe shallowly, frown, and move slowly. But you can reverse this process. Stand up straight, take deep breaths, smile, even if you don't feel like it, and move your body energetically. Your brain receives signals from your body about how you're supposed to feel. And changing your physiology sends new signals that can quickly shift your mood. Try this experiment. For the next 2 minutes, slouch in your chair, breathe shallowly, frown, and think about something that bothers you. Notice how you feel. Then immediately stand up tall, take 5 deep breaths, smile broadly, and move around energetically for 30 seconds. The difference in how you feel will be dramatic and immediate. Your focus determines your emotional experience. Whatever you focus on expands in your awareness and influences your mood. If you focus on what's wrong, what's missing, or what's unfair, you'll feel frustrated, disappointed, or angry. If you focus on what's working, what you're grateful for, and what's possible, you'll feel optimistic, motivated, and content. Develop the habit of consciously directing your focus, especially when you feel your mood starting to shift negatively. Ask yourself, what am I focusing on right now? Is this focus serving me? What could I focus on instead that would improve how I feel? This doesn't mean ignoring real problems or pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing to focus on aspects of your situation that empower you rather than aspects that drain you. The language you use, both internally and externally, profoundly affects your mood. If you describe your situation using dramatic, negative language, you'll feel worse. If you describe the same situation using neutral or positive language, you'll feel better. Instead of saying, "This is a disaster," try, "This is challenging." Instead of, "I'm devastated," try, "I'm disappointed." Instead of, "Everything is going wrong," try, "I'm dealing with some difficulties." Mood management also requires you to understand your emotional patterns and triggers. Pay attention to what situations, people, or thoughts tend to shift your mood negatively. Once you identify these patterns, you can prepare for them. If you know that traffic jams frustrate you, you can prepare by listening to audiobooks or podcasts that you enjoy. If you know that certain people drain your energy, you can limit your exposure to them or prepare mentally before interacting with them. Learn to separate events from your interpretation of events. Something happens, and then you interpret what it means. And that interpretation creates your emotional response. Two people can experience the exact same event and have completely different emotional reactions based on their interpretations. The person who gets laid off might interpret it as, "I'm a failure," and feel devastated. Or they might interpret it as, "This is an opportunity to find something better," and feel motivated. Develop emotional regulation techniques that work for you. This might include deep breathing exercises, progressive muscle relaxation, visualization, or physical exercise. The key is having go-to strategies that you can use when you feel your mood shifting in an unwanted direction. Practice these techniques when you're already in a good mood so they're readily available when you need them. Create mood anchors, which are specific activities, songs, scents, or images that reliably improve your emotional state. This might be a particular song that always energizes you, a photo that makes you smile, or a physical exercise that boosts your confidence. When you need to shift your mood quickly, you can activate these anchors to create the emotional state you want. Understand the difference between emotions and moods. Emotions are immediate responses to specific events and usually last for minutes or hours. Moods are more general emotional states that can last for days or weeks. While you can't always control your initial emotional reactions, you can learn to process emotions quickly and prevent them from turning into prolonged negative moods. Mood management also involves protecting your emotional energy. Just as you wouldn't leave your house unlocked or your bank account unprotected, you shouldn't leave your mood vulnerable to every external influence. This means being selective about the news you consume, the conversations you engage in, and the environments you spend time in. It means setting boundaries with people who consistently drain your emotional energy. Finally, remember that managing your mood isn't about being positive all the time or pretending that negative emotions don't exist. It's about developing the ability to experience emotions without being controlled by them. It's about being able to feel disappointed without staying in disappointment, to feel angry without acting destructively, and to feel sad without sinking into depression. You're building emotional resilience and the ability to maintain your center regardless of what's happening around you. Chapter 5. Controlling your money. Money is one of the most emotionally charged topics in human life. It represents security, freedom, status, and opportunity. But it can also be a source of stress, conflict, and anxiety. Your relationship with money affects every area of your life, from your career choices, to your relationships, to your sense of self-worth. Yet, most people have never consciously developed a healthy relationship with money or learned the skills necessary to control it effectively. Controlling your money begins with understanding that money is not the root of all evil, nor is it the solution to all problems. Money is a tool, and like any tool, its value depends on how skillfully you use it. A hammer can build a house or break a window, depending on the skill and intention of the person wielding it. Similarly, money can create opportunities and security, or it can create stress and problems, depending on how you manage it. The first step in money control is developing financial awareness. Most people have no idea where their money goes. They earn it, spend it, and wonder why they never seem to have enough. But you cannot control what you do not measure. Start tracking every dollar that comes in and every dollar that goes out. This doesn't have to be complicated. A simple spreadsheet or even a notebook where you record your income and expenses will give you the awareness you need to start making better financial decisions. Once you have awareness, you need to create a budget. A budget is simply a plan for your money. It tells your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. But here's the key. Your budget must be realistic and aligned with your values. If you create a budget that's too restrictive or doesn't account for the things you genuinely value, you'll abandon it just like a crash diet. Start with the 50-30-20 rule as a foundation. 50% of your after-tax income goes to needs housing, food, transportation, minimum debt payments. 30% goes to wants, entertainment, dining out, hobbies. 20% goes to savings and debt repayment beyond minimums. This is a starting point that you can adjust based on your specific situation and goals. Money control requires you to understand the difference between needs and wants. Needs are things you must have to survive and function. Wants are things that would be nice to have but aren't essential. The problem is that our consumer culture has convinced us that many wants are actually needs. You need basic clothing, but you don't need designer brands. You need transportation, but you don't need a luxury car. You need food, but you don't need to eat at expensive restaurants regularly. This doesn't mean living like a monk or never enjoying yourself. It means being intentional about your spending and making conscious choices rather than unconscious ones. Before making any significant purchase, ask yourself, is this a need or a want? If it's a want, can I afford it without compromising my financial goals? Will this purchase still matter to me in a month, a year, or 5 years? Develop the habit of delayed gratification when it comes to money. When you want to buy something, especially something expensive, wait 24 hours before making the purchase. For larger items, wait a week or even a month. This cooling off period allows the initial emotional impulse to fade and gives you time to make a more rational decision. You'll be surprised how many purchases you decide you don't actually need after waiting. One of the most important aspects of money control is building an emergency fund. This is money set aside specifically for unexpected expenses like car repairs, medical bills, or job loss. Your emergency fund should be easily accessible in a savings account not invested in stocks, and should cover 3 to 6 months of your basic living expenses. Having this financial cushion gives you peace of mind and prevents you from going into debt when unexpected expenses arise. Pay yourself first. This means putting money into savings and investments before you pay any bills or make any discretionary purchases. Even if it's just $25 or $50 per paycheck, paying yourself first ensures that you're building wealth consistently. Set up automatic transfers so that this happens without you having to think about it or rely on willpower. Understand the power of compound interest. Einstein reportedly called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world, saying that those who understand it earn it, and those who don't pay it. When you save and invest money, you earn returns not just on your original investment, but also on all the previous returns. Over time, this compounding effect can turn modest savings into substantial wealth. For example, if you save $100 per month starting at age 25 and earn an average return of 7% annually, you'll have over $260,000 by age 65. But if you wait until age 35 to start saving the same amount, you'll only have about $130,000. Those 10 years make a difference of over $130,000, demonstrating the incredible power of starting early and letting compound interest work for you. Money control also means being strategic about debt. Not all debt is bad. Debt used to acquire appreciating assets, like real estate, or to invest in your earning potential, like education, can be beneficial. But consumer debt, especially high-interest credit card debt, is wealth destruction. If you have credit card debt, make paying it off a priority. The interest you're paying on that debt is likely higher than any investment return you could reasonably expect. Learn to increase your income as well as control your expenses. While budgeting and saving are important, there's a limit to how much you can cut expenses, but there's virtually no limit to how much you can increase your income. Invest in developing skills that make you more valuable in the marketplace. Look for opportunities to advance in your career or start a side business. The most financially successful people focus heavily on growing their income, not just on cutting costs. Finally, understand that money control is really about life control. When you control your money, you control your options. You can choose jobs based on passion and purpose rather than just paycheck size. You can weather financial storms without panic. You can be generous with others and invest in experiences that matter to you. Money becomes a tool for creating the life you want rather than a source of stress and limitation. Chapter 6. The Psychology of Self-Sabotage. Self-sabotage is the invisible force that destroys more dreams, ruins more relationships, and wastes more potential than any external obstacle ever could. It's the reason why people who know exactly what they should do still don't do it. It's why someone can have all the knowledge, tools, and opportunities they need for success, but still find ways to undermine their own progress. Understanding self-sabotage is crucial because it affects all 4 areas we've been discussing. You sabotage your mouth by saying things that damage relationships when you most need support. You sabotage your mind by focusing on worst-case scenarios when you need confidence. You sabotage your mood by dwelling on negative thoughts when you need emotional strength. You sabotage your money by making impulsive financial decisions when you need discipline and planning. The psychology of self-sabotage often stems from deep-seated beliefs about what you deserve. If you have an unconscious belief that you don't deserve success, happiness, or wealth, your mind will find ways to ensure you don't achieve or maintain these things. This isn't conscious or deliberate. Your sabotaging mind operates below the level of awareness, creating situations that confirm your limiting beliefs about yourself. One of the most common forms of self-sabotage is perfectionism. Perfectionists often procrastinate because they're afraid of producing work that isn't perfect. They set impossibly high standards that guarantee failure, then use that failure as evidence that they should quit trying. The perfectionist's mind says, "If I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all," which becomes a convenient excuse for avoiding the discomfort of effort and potential failure. Another form of self-sabotage is imposter syndrome, where you believe you're not qualified or deserving of your success. When good things happen, instead of celebrating, you worry that you're a fraud who will eventually be exposed. This fear causes you to downplay your achievements, avoid opportunities for advancement, and sometimes even sabotage your success to avoid the anxiety of being found out. Self-sabotage also manifests as negative self-talk and internal criticism. You become your own worst enemy, constantly pointing out your flaws, predicting failure, and undermining your confidence. This internal critic is often more harsh and destructive than any external criticism you might face. It convinces you that you're not smart enough, talented enough, or worthy enough to achieve your goals. The fear of success is another powerful form of self-sabotage that many people don't recognize. Success brings change, responsibility, and visibility, all of which can feel threatening. Your mind might sabotage success because it fears the unknown territory that comes with achievement. It's safer to stay in familiar patterns of struggle and limitation than to venture into the uncertainty of success. Self-sabotage often intensifies when you're close to a breakthrough. Just when you're about to achieve something significant, your sabotaging mind kicks into overdrive. You might suddenly lose motivation, create unnecessary drama, make poor decisions, or find reasons to quit. This is because your current identity feels threatened by the new level of success you're approaching. Recognizing self-sabotage requires developing awareness of your patterns. Notice when you consistently stop short of your goals. Pay attention to the excuses you make and the ways you create obstacles for yourself. Observe the negative thoughts and beliefs that surface when you're making progress. Ask yourself, how do I typically get in my own way? What patterns of self-sabotage show up repeatedly in my life? One effective way to combat self-sabotage is to identify your sabotaging thoughts and challenge them with evidence. When your mind tells you, "I'm not good enough," ask for proof. What evidence supports this belief? What evidence contradicts it? Often, you'll find that your sabotaging thoughts are based on old experiences, other people's opinions, or irrational fears rather than current reality. Develop what I call a success identity. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who struggles, fails, or doesn't deserve good things, consciously cultivate an identity as someone who succeeds, grows, and deserves the best in life. This requires updating your self-concept to match the level of success you want to achieve. Start acting, thinking, and speaking like the person you want to become, even before external circumstances reflect that identity. Another powerful strategy is to make success inevitable through systems and accountability. Self-sabotage thrives in environments where success depends entirely on willpower and motivation. But when you create systems that make progress automatic and build accountability into your process, it becomes much harder to sabotage yourself. Set up structures that keep you moving forward even when your sabotaging mind is active. Work on upgrading your beliefs about what you deserve. If you believe you deserve success, happiness, and abundance, your mind will work to create those experiences. But if you believe you deserve struggle, limitation, and disappointment, your mind will create those experiences instead. Examine your core beliefs about what you deserve and consciously choose to adopt beliefs that support your success rather than undermine it. Finally, understand that overcoming self-sabotage is an ongoing process. Your sabotaging mind will continue to surface, especially when you're pushing beyond your comfort zone. The goal isn't to eliminate self-sabotage completely, but to recognize it quickly and choose different actions, despite the sabotaging thoughts and feelings. With practice, you can learn to observe your self-sabotaging impulses without being controlled by them. Chapter 7. Building Unshakable Discipline. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. It's what separates those who dream from those who achieve. It's the ability to do what needs to be done when it needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. But most people misunderstand discipline. They think it's about forcing yourself to do things you hate through sheer willpower. True discipline is about aligning your actions with your deepest values and long-term goals, making the right choice feel natural and automatic. Unshakable discipline begins with clarity about your why. When you have a compelling reason for doing something, discipline becomes much easier. The person who exercises every morning because they have a clear vision of the healthy, energetic life they want to create finds it easier to get out of bed than the person who exercises because they think they should. Your why must be personal, emotional, and meaningful to you, not something imposed by others or society. Take time to connect with your deeper motivations. Why do you want to control your mouth? Perhaps because you want to build stronger relationships and become someone others respect and trust. Why do you want to control your mind? Maybe because you're tired of being held back by self-doubt and limiting thoughts. Why do you want to control your mood? Possibly because you want to be emotionally stable and resilient for your family. Why do you want to control your money? Perhaps because you want the freedom to make choices based on your values, rather than financial pressure. The stronger and more personal your why, the easier discipline becomes. When you try to wake up early just because you think you should, it's a struggle. But when you wake up early because you're excited about the quiet time to work on your goals, it becomes a pleasure. When you save money just because you think it's responsible, it feels restrictive. But when you save money because you're building freedom to pursue your dreams, it feels empowering. Discipline also requires you to start small and build momentum. Most people fail at discipline because they try to change everything at once. They decide to wake up 2 hours earlier, exercise for an hour, meditate for 30 minutes, read for an hour, and completely change their diet all at the same time. This approach overwhelms your system and guarantees failure. Instead, start with one small change that you can maintain consistently. Maybe it's waking up just 15 minutes earlier. Maybe it's doing 10 push-ups every morning. Maybe it's reading for 10 minutes before bed. The specific action matters less than your ability to do it consistently. Once this becomes automatic, you can add another small discipline. Over time, these small disciplines compound into major life changes. The key to building discipline is understanding that it's not about perfection. It's about consistency. You don't need to be disciplined 100% of the time. You need to be disciplined most of the time and get back on track quickly when you slip. The person who maintains their discipline 80% of the time will achieve far more than the person who maintains perfect discipline for 2 weeks and then quits entirely. Create what I call discipline triggers. These are environmental cues that automatically prompt disciplined behavior. If you want to exercise every morning, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to eat healthier, keep healthy snacks visible and hide junk food. If you want to read more, keep books in places where you might otherwise reach for your phone. By designing your environment to support discipline, you make good choices easier and bad choices harder. Understand the difference between motivation and discipline. Motivation is an emotion that comes and goes. Some days you feel motivated, other days you don't. Discipline is a practice that continues regardless of how you feel. Disciplined people don't wait for motivation, they act in spite of lacking motivation. They understand that action often creates motivation, not the other way around. When you don't feel like doing something you've committed to, start anyway. Tell yourself you only have to do it for 5 minutes. Often, starting is the hardest part. And once you begin, you'll find the motivation to continue. But even if you only do 5 minutes, you've maintained your discipline and kept your commitment to yourself intact. Discipline is also about learning to delay gratification. In a world of instant everything, the ability to wait for better outcomes is becoming increasingly rare and valuable. Practice small acts of delayed gratification throughout your day. Wait 5 minutes before checking your phone. Save your favorite food for last. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. These small practices strengthen your discipline muscle for bigger challenges. Track your discipline consistently. Keep a simple record of whether you followed through on your disciplined actions each day. This could be as simple as checking off boxes on a calendar or keeping a score in a notebook. Tracking makes your discipline visible and creates a sense of accountability to yourself. You'll also be able to see patterns in when your discipline is strong and when it tends to weaken. Celebrate your disciplined actions, especially the small ones. When you follow through on a commitment to yourself, acknowledge it. This positive reinforcement strengthens the neural pathways associated with discipline and makes it more likely you'll continue the behavior. The celebration doesn't have to be big or expensive. Simply acknowledging to yourself that you kept your commitment is often enough. Build discipline in all 4 areas simultaneously. When you practice discipline with your mouth by pausing before speaking, you're strengthening the same mental muscle you use to discipline your mind by focusing on positive thoughts. When you discipline your mood by choosing your emotional responses, you're building the same capacity you need to discipline your money by delaying gratification on purchases. All forms of discipline reinforce each other. Finally, understand that discipline becomes easier with practice. What feels difficult and unnatural at first becomes automatic and effortless over time. The person who has been exercising consistently for years doesn't have to force themselves to work out. It's simply part of who they are. Similarly, as you practice discipline consistently, it stops being something you do and becomes something you are. You develop a disciplined identity that makes good choices feel natural and automatic. Chapter 8. The Power of Strategic Silence. In a world that rewards noise, the person who masters silence holds tremendous power. Silence is not emptiness or absence. It's a strategic choice that can transform your relationships, increase your influence, and accelerate your success. Strategic silence involves knowing when to speak and when to remain quiet, when to share and when to keep things private, when to react and when to simply observe. The power of silence begins with understanding that most people feel compelled to fill every moment with words. They share their thoughts immediately, respond to every comment, and explain their every action. But this constant communication actually weakens their position and reduces their impact. When everyone is talking, the person who knows when to be silent becomes magnetic and influential. Strategic silence in conversation allows you to gather more information and understand situations more deeply. When you ask a question and then remain silent, people feel compelled to fill that silence with information. They often reveal more than they intended, giving you insights into their motivations, concerns, and true feelings. This additional information allows you to respond more effectively and make better decisions. Practice the power of the pause in difficult conversations. When someone says something challenging, aggressive, or emotional, your instinct might be to respond immediately. But strategic silence creates space for several things to happen. First, it allows the other person's emotions to settle. Second, it gives you time to formulate a thoughtful response rather than an emotional reaction. Third, it often causes the other person to backtrack or soften their position. Silence is also powerful in negotiations and business situations. When someone makes you an offer, resist the urge to respond immediately. Let the silence hang in the air. Often, they'll improve their offer or provide additional benefits just to fill the uncomfortable silence. The person who speaks first after an offer is made is often the one in the weaker position. Strategic silence means keeping your plans and goals private until they're achieved. There's a psychological phenomenon where telling people about your goals gives you a premature sense of accomplishment that reduces your motivation to actually achieve them. When you announce your intentions, your brain receives some of the satisfaction it would get from actually completing the goal. This can lead to talking about success instead of creating it. Work in silence and let your results speak for themselves. While others are busy posting about their plans, goals, and daily activities, focus your energy on actually achieving meaningful outcomes. This approach has several advantages. You avoid the distraction of managing other people's opinions about your work. You eliminate the pressure that comes from public expectations. You maintain the element of surprise that makes your achievements more impactful when they're revealed. Silence also protects you from unnecessary drama and conflict. Many arguments and disagreements could be avoided by simply choosing not to engage. Not every comment needs a response. Not every provocation requires retaliation. Not every disagreement needs to be resolved through discussion. Sometimes, the most powerful response is no response at all. Learn to be comfortable with silence in social situations. Most people are uncomfortable with quiet moments and feel compelled to fill them with small talk or meaningless chatter. But when you're comfortable with silence, you become a calming presence that others find attractive and relaxing. You also create space for more meaningful conversation to emerge naturally. Strategic silence in leadership involves knowing when to step back and let others take initiative. Instead of micromanaging or providing constant input, sometimes the most effective thing a leader can do is remain silent and allow team members to solve problems themselves. This builds their confidence and capabilities while demonstrating your trust in their abilities. Use silence as a tool for self-reflection and clarity. In our noisy, distracted world, regular periods of silence are essential for processing information, connecting with your intuition, and maintaining emotional balance. Whether through meditation, quiet walks, or simply sitting in silence, these moments allow your mind to rest and recharge. Silence can also be a form of powerful communication. Sometimes what you don't say communicates more than what you do say. A meaningful look, a pause before answering, or simply remaining quiet when others expect you to defend yourself can be more impactful than any words you might speak. Practice selective sharing of personal information. In an age of social media oversharing, the person who maintains some privacy and mystery becomes more interesting and attractive. You don't need to share every thought, experience, or emotion with others. Keeping some aspects of your life private gives you more control over your image and allows people to focus on your actions rather than your personal details. Strategic silence also means avoiding gossip and unnecessary commentary about others. When people start discussing someone who isn't present, choose to remain silent rather than participating. This builds trust because people know you won't talk about them when they're not around. It also keeps you from getting involved in drama that can damage relationships and waste emotional energy. Use silence to create anticipation and build tension in presentations or important communications. Instead of rushing through your key points, allow moments of silence to let important information sink in. This makes your message more memorable and impactful. Finally, understand that strategic silence is not about being antisocial or secretive. It's about being intentional with your communication. It's about understanding that your words have more power when they're carefully chosen and strategically deployed. When you speak less, but with more intention, people listen more carefully to what you have to say. Chapter 9. Emotional Intelligence and Regulation. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions, while also being able to recognize and influence the emotions of others. It's perhaps the most critical skill for success in relationships, leadership, and life satisfaction. While IQ might get you hired, emotional intelligence determines how far you advance and how fulfilling your relationships become. Emotional intelligence begins with self-awareness, which is the foundation of all emotional growth. You cannot manage emotions that you don't recognize or understand. Start paying attention to your emotional states throughout the day. Notice what triggers different emotions, how they feel in your body, and how they influence your thoughts and behaviors. This awareness is the first step toward emotional mastery. Develop an emotional vocabulary that goes beyond basic feelings like happy, sad, angry, or afraid. The more precisely you can identify your emotions, the better you can understand and manage them. Instead of just angry, you might be frustrated, irritated, resentful, or indignant. Instead of just sad, you might be disappointed, discouraged, melancholy, or grieving. Each of these emotions has different implications and may require different responses. Learn to recognize the physical sensations that accompany different emotions. Anger might feel like heat in your chest or tension in your jaw. Anxiety might feel like butterflies in your stomach or tightness in your throat. Fear might feel like a sinking sensation or a racing heart. When you can identify emotions by their physical sensations, you can catch them early before they overwhelm your rational thinking. Practice the skill of emotional labeling. When you notice an emotion arising, simply name it, "I'm feeling frustrated right now," or I notice anxiety coming up. This simple act of labeling helps activate the prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of your brain, which can help regulate the emotional response. It creates space between you and the emotion, allowing you to choose your response rather than being controlled by the feeling. Understand the difference between primary and secondary emotions. Primary emotions are your immediate, natural responses to situations. Secondary emotions are your reactions to your primary emotions. For example, you might feel hurt, primary, when someone criticizes you, and then feel angry, secondary, about feeling hurt. Often, addressing the primary emotion is more effective than focusing on the secondary reaction. Develop emotional regulation strategies that work for you. These might include deep breathing exercises, progressive muscle relaxation, visualization, physical exercise, or talking to a trusted friend. The key is having multiple strategies available so you can choose the most appropriate one for each situation. Practice these techniques when you're calm so they're readily available when you need them. Learn to pause between stimulus and response. When something happens that triggers an emotional reaction, train yourself to pause before responding. This might be as simple as taking 3 deep breaths or counting to 10. This pause allows your rational mind to engage and helps prevent emotional reactions that you might later regret. Practice cognitive reframing to change your emotional responses to situations. The same event can trigger very different emotions depending on how you interpret it. If someone doesn't return your call, you might interpret it as rejection and feel hurt, or you might interpret it as them being busy and feel neutral. By consciously choosing more balanced interpretations, you can regulate your emotional responses. Develop empathy by practicing perspective taking. Try to understand situations from other people's points of view. What might they be thinking or feeling? What challenges might they be facing? What motivations might be driving their behavior? This doesn't mean excusing bad behavior, but understanding others' perspectives can help you respond more effectively and reduce unnecessary conflict. Learn to communicate emotions effectively. Instead of acting out your emotions through behavior, practice expressing them through words. Say, "I feel frustrated when meetings start late because it affects my schedule," instead of sighing, rolling your eyes, or making sarcastic comments. Clear emotional communication helps others understand your perspective and often leads to better solutions. Develop emotional boundaries to protect your energy and well-being. This means not taking on other people's emotions as your own, not trying to fix everyone's emotional problems, and not allowing others to consistently dump their negative emotions on you. You can be supportive and caring without absorbing other people's emotional states. Practice emotional contagion awareness. Emotions are contagious, and you naturally tend to mirror the emotional states of people around you. When you're aware of this tendency, you can choose whether to match someone's emotional state or maintain your own. If someone is angry or anxious, you can acknowledge their emotion without becoming angry or anxious yourself. Use emotions as information rather than directives. Emotions provide valuable data about your needs, values, and situations, but they shouldn't automatically determine your actions. Anger might tell you that a boundary has been crossed, but it doesn't mean you should lash out. Fear might tell you that something feels risky, but it doesn't mean you should avoid all risks. Use emotional information to make better decisions, not to make decisions for you. Develop stress resilience by learning to stay calm under pressure. This involves building tolerance for uncomfortable emotions rather than trying to avoid them entirely. Practice staying present and centered when you feel stressed, overwhelmed, or challenged. The more you practice maintaining emotional equilibrium during difficult times, the stronger your resilience becomes. Finally, remember that emotional intelligence is a skill that improves with practice. You won't master it overnight, and you'll still have moments when emotions overwhelm your rational thinking. The goal is to gradually increase your emotional awareness and regulation abilities so that you can maintain your center and respond effectively even in challenging emotional situations. Chapter 10. Creating your success environment. Your environment is constantly shaping your behavior, thoughts, and emotions, often without you even realizing it. The spaces you inhabit, the people you spend time with, the information you consume, and the systems you create all influence your ability to control your mouth, mind, mood, and money. By consciously designing your environment to support your goals, you make success easier and failure harder. Environmental design begins with understanding that willpower is limited and unreliable. Instead of depending on constant self-control, create an environment where good choices are automatic and bad choices require effort. This is why successful people don't just rely on discipline. They engineer their surroundings to support their success. Start with your physical environment. Your living and working spaces should support the behaviors you want to maintain. If you want to exercise regularly, set up a home gym, or at least keep workout equipment visible. If you want to eat healthier, keep nutritious foods easily accessible and remove junk food from your kitchen. If you want to read more, place books in locations where you might otherwise reach for your phone. The arrangement of your space matters more than you might think. A cluttered, disorganized environment creates mental chaos and makes it harder to focus and think clearly. A clean, organized space promotes mental clarity and makes it easier to maintain discipline and focus. Spend time creating physical environments that reflect the level of success and organization you want to achieve in your life. Design your workspace to minimize distractions and maximize productivity. This might mean using website blockers during work hours, keeping your phone in another room, or creating a dedicated space for focused work that's separate from relaxation areas. The goal is to create environmental cues that automatically put you in a productive mindset when you enter that space. Your social environment is equally important as your physical environment. The people you spend time with regularly have enormous influence on your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. If you're surrounded by people who complain, make excuses, and avoid taking responsibility, you'll find yourself adopting similar patterns. If you're surrounded by people who are positive, goal-oriented, and disciplined, you'll naturally adopt those qualities. Audit your social circle honestly. Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? Are they supporting your growth or holding you back? Are they encouraging your best behaviors or enabling your worst ones? This doesn't mean you have to cut off everyone who isn't perfect, but it does mean being strategic about who you allow to influence your daily mindset and decisions. Seek out relationships with people who are where you want to be in life. If you want to improve your financial situation, spend time with people who are financially successful. If you want to improve your health, spend time with people who prioritize fitness and nutrition. If you want to develop better relationships, spend time with people who have strong, healthy relationships. Success patterns are contagious when you're regularly exposed to them. Create boundaries with people who consistently drain your energy or encourage negative behaviors. This doesn't necessarily mean ending relationships, but it might mean limiting the time you spend with certain people or setting clear boundaries about what topics you're willing to discuss. Protect your emotional and mental energy as carefully as you protect your physical health. Your information environment is also crucial. The books you read, podcasts you listen to, videos you watch, and news you consume all influence your mindset and worldview. If you're constantly consuming negative news, gossip, or content that makes you feel inadequate, your mind will reflect that input. Be intentional about consuming content that educates, inspires, and elevates your thinking. Create information consumption habits that support your goals. This might mean starting your day with motivational or educational content instead of checking social media. It might mean listening to podcasts about personal development during your commute instead of music or talk radio. It might mean reading books related to your goals instead of watching television in the evening. Design your digital environment to support your success. Organize your phone so that productive apps are easily accessible and time-wasting apps require more effort to reach. Use technology to automate good behaviors, like automatic savings, transfers, or calendar reminders for important activities. Set up your devices to minimize distractions during focused work time. Create accountability systems in your environment. This might mean working out with a partner, joining a group related to your goals, or simply telling someone about your commitments. When your environment includes people who expect you to follow through on your commitments, you're more likely to maintain discipline and consistency. Establish routines and rituals that support your desired behaviors. Morning routines that include activities like exercise, meditation, or goal review can set a positive tone for your entire day. Evening routines that include planning for the next day or reflecting on progress can help you maintain focus and motivation. These routines become environmental cues that automatically trigger productive behaviors. Use visual reminders and environmental cues to keep your goals and values visible. This might mean keeping quotes or images that inspire you in places where you'll see them regularly. It might mean using a vision board or keeping symbols of your goals in your workspace. When your environment constantly reminds you of what you're working toward, you're more likely to make choices that align with those goals. Finally, remember that creating your success environment is an ongoing process, not a one-time setup. As you grow and your goals evolve, your environment needs to evolve as well. Regularly assess whether your current environment is supporting your success or holding you back, and make adjustments as needed. Your environment should be your ally in achieving your goals, not an obstacle you have to overcome. Chapter 11. The compound effect of small changes. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a year and underestimate what they can achieve in a decade. They look for dramatic transformations and overnight success stories, but real change happens through the compound effect of small, consistent actions repeated over time. Understanding this principle will revolutionize how you approach controlling your mouth, mind, mood, and money. The compound effect works the same way in personal development as it does in finance. Just as small, regular investments grow into substantial wealth over time, small improvements in your daily habits create massive life changes over months and years. The person who improves just 1% each day will be 37 times better after 1 year. But the person who gets worse by just 1% each day will decline to nearly zero. This is why you must focus on consistency rather than intensity. The person who exercises for 10 minutes every day will achieve better results than the person who works out intensely for 2 hours once a week. The person who saves $25 every week will build more wealth than the person who saves $500 once every few months. Small actions, repeated consistently, create exponential results. When it comes to controlling your mouth, small improvements compound dramatically. Each time you pause before speaking in anger, you strengthen your emotional regulation muscle. Each time you choose encouraging words over critical ones, you build better relationships and a more positive environment around yourself. Each time you practice strategic silence instead of unnecessary commentary, you increase your influence and respect from others. These small choices, made consistently, transform how others perceive and interact with you. The compound effect works powerfully with mind control as well. Each time you catch a negative thought and reframe it positively, you strengthen neural pathways associated with optimism and resilience. Each time you choose to focus on solutions instead of problems, you train your brain to be more resourceful and creative. Each time you practice visualization or goal-focused thinking, you program your subconscious mind to recognize and create opportunities. Over time, these small mental habits create an entirely different mental landscape. Your mood benefits tremendously from the compound effect of small emotional practices. Each time you take a deep breath when stressed instead of reacting immediately, you build emotional stability. Each time you choose to focus on gratitude instead of complaints, you rewire your brain for positivity. Each time you maintain perspective during challenging situations, you develop emotional resilience that serves you in future difficulties. These small emotional choices accumulate into unshakable emotional strength. The compound effect is perhaps most obvious with money, but also most ignored. Each dollar you save instead of spending on impulse purchases compounds over time through investment returns. Each time you choose the less expensive option without sacrificing quality, you create more financial freedom. Each time you invest in learning skills that increase your earning potential, you multiply your future income possibilities. Small financial decisions, compounded over time, create the difference between financial stress and financial freedom. The key to leveraging the compound effect is making improvements so small that they feel effortless. If you want to read more, don't commit to reading for an hour every day. Start with reading just 1 page per day. If you want to exercise regularly, don't plan 90-minute workouts. Start with 5 push-ups every morning. If you want to save money, don't try to save half your income. Start by saving the change from your purchases. These tiny changes feel insignificant in the moment, which is exactly why they work. Your brain doesn't resist small changes the way it resists dramatic ones. You don't need willpower or motivation to read 1 page or do 5 push-ups. But these small actions create momentum, and momentum makes larger changes possible. The person who reads 1 page per day often ends up reading for 30 minutes. The person who does 5 push-ups often ends up doing a full workout. Track your small improvements to make the compound effect visible. Keep a simple record of your daily actions in each area. Did you practice mouth control by pausing before speaking today? Did you practice mind control by focusing on your goals? Did you practice mood control by choosing your emotional responses? Did you practice money control by making a conscious spending decision? This tracking helps you see progress that might otherwise feel invisible. Be patient with the compound effect. The most dramatic results often happen after months or years of consistent small actions. This is why most people quit before experiencing the real benefits. They expect immediate results from small changes, and when they don't see dramatic improvements quickly, they assume their efforts aren't working. But the compound effect is building momentum beneath the surface, creating changes that will eventually become undeniable. Understand that the compound effect works in both directions. Just as small positive actions compound into major improvements, small negative actions compound into significant problems. Each time you speak without thinking, your relationships suffer incrementally. Each time you allow negative thoughts to go unchallenged, your mindset becomes more pessimistic. Each time you react emotionally instead of responding thoughtfully, your emotional stability weakens. Each time you make impulsive financial decisions, your financial situation deteriorates. This is why eliminating small negative habits is just as important as building small positive ones. Stop checking your phone first thing in the morning. Stop participating in gossip conversations. Stop buying items you don't really need. Stop dwelling on negative news or social media that makes you feel bad about yourself. These small eliminations create space for positive habits to grow. Focus on improving your systems rather than your goals. Goals are the results you want to achieve, but systems are the processes that produce those results. If you want to lose weight, don't just focus on the number on the scale. Build a system of daily habits around nutrition and exercise. If you want to build wealth, don't just focus on the target amount. Build a system of saving, investing, and income growth. Systems are what create sustainable compound results. Finally, trust the process even when progress feels slow. The compound effect requires faith because the most significant changes happen gradually. And then suddenly, you might practice new habits for weeks or months without seeing dramatic results. And then suddenly notice that everything has changed. Your relationships are stronger, your mindset is more positive, your emotions are more stable, and your finances are improving. This sudden awareness of change is the compound effect revealing itself after working quietly beneath the surface. Chapter 12. Mastering your internal dialogue. The conversation you have with yourself is the most important conversation of your life. It's happening constantly, influencing every decision you make, every emotion you feel, and every action you take. Yet, most people pay no attention to their internal dialogue, allowing it to run on autopilot with negative, limiting, and destructive patterns that sabotage their success and happiness. Your internal dialogue is the voice in your head that comments on everything that happens to you. It interprets events, makes predictions about the future, and provides commentary on your performance. This voice can be your greatest ally, encouraging you towards success and helping you navigate challenges with confidence. Or it can be your worst enemy, filling you with doubt, fear, and self-criticism that prevents you from reaching your potential. The problem is that most people's internal dialogue was programmed during childhood by parents, teachers, and social influences who may have been well-meaning but often transmitted limiting beliefs and negative thought patterns. You might have internalized voices that tell you you're not smart enough, not attractive enough, not worthy of success, or not capable of achieving your goals. These internalized voices continue to run your life until you consciously choose to reprogram them. Becoming aware of your internal dialogue is the first step in mastering it. Most of this conversation happens so automatically that you don't even notice it. Start paying attention to the voice in your head throughout the day. What is it saying about your performance, your appearance, your relationships, and your future? Is it supportive and encouraging, or critical and discouraging? Is it focused on possibilities or limitations? Notice the tone of your internal voice. Is it harsh and demanding, or gentle and understanding? Would you speak to a good friend the way you speak to yourself? Most people discover that they're far more critical and unkind to themselves than they would ever be to someone they care about. This internal criticism erodes confidence and motivation over time. Pay attention to the language patterns in your internal dialogue. Does your inner voice use absolute terms like always, never, everyone, and no one? These absolutes are rarely accurate and often create unnecessary stress and limitation. Does it catastrophize by assuming the worst possible outcomes? Does it personalize failures by assuming everything is your fault? These distorted thinking patterns create emotional suffering that's often unnecessary. Start challenging your internal dialogue when it's negative or limiting. When you catch yourself thinking something self-critical or pessimistic, ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is it accurate? What evidence supports this thought, and what evidence contradicts it? How would I respond if a friend said this to me? This questioning process helps you evaluate your thoughts objectively rather than accepting them automatically. Replace negative internal dialogue with more balanced and constructive thoughts. Instead of, I'm terrible at this, try, I'm still learning this skill. Instead of, I'll never be successful, try, I haven't achieved my goals yet, but I'm making progress. Instead of, everyone thinks I'm incompetent, try, some people might have concerns about my performance, and I can use their feedback to improve. Develop positive internal dialogue patterns that support your goals and well-being. Start each day by mentally reviewing your goals and affirming your ability to achieve them. Throughout the day, congratulate yourself for small wins and improvements. When facing challenges, remind yourself of past successes and your ability to overcome difficulties. Before important events, use your internal dialogue to visualize success and build confidence. Practice self-compassion in your internal dialogue. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a good friend who was struggling. When you make mistakes, instead of harsh self-criticism, offer yourself understanding and encouragement. Remember that everyone makes mistakes and faces setbacks. What matters is how you respond and what you learn from the experience. Use your internal dialogue to focus on what you can control rather than what you can't. When facing challenging situations, guide your thoughts toward actions you can take and resources you have available. Instead of dwelling on how unfair something is or how difficult your circumstances are, focus your mental energy on your response and your next steps. Develop internal dialogue patterns that support each of the 4 areas we've discussed. For mouth control, use your internal voice to remind yourself to pause before speaking and to choose words that build rather than destroy. For mind control, use it to redirect your focus toward your goals and possibilities rather than problems and limitations. For mood control, use it to reframe situations positively and remind yourself of things you're grateful for. For money control, use it to reinforce the long-term benefits of financial discipline and smart money choices. Create positive affirmations that counteract your specific limiting beliefs and negative thought patterns. If you struggle with self-doubt, develop affirmations about your capabilities and potential. If you tend toward pessimism, create affirmations about opportunities and positive possibilities. If you have money fears, develop affirmations about abundance and your ability to create wealth. Repeat these affirmations regularly until they become automatic parts of your internal dialogue. Use your internal dialogue for problem-solving and creative thinking. Instead of letting your mind wander aimlessly or ruminate on problems, consciously direct it towards solutions and possibilities. Ask yourself questions like, how can I make this work? What are 3 different approaches I could try? What would someone I admire do in this situation? What opportunities might exist in this challenge? Practice mental rehearsal through your internal dialogue. Before important conversations, presentations, or events, use your inner voice to walk through the experience successfully. Visualize yourself performing well and achieving your desired outcomes. This mental rehearsal builds confidence and actually improves your performance by programming your mind for success. Monitor your internal dialogue during stress and challenging situations. These are the times when negative thought patterns tend to be strongest and most damaging. During difficult periods, consciously choose to use internal dialogue that calms and centers you rather than amplifies stress and anxiety. Remind yourself of your strength, your resources, and your ability to handle whatever comes your way. Finally, remember that mastering your internal dialogue is an ongoing practice, not a one-time achievement. Your mind will continue to generate negative thoughts and limiting beliefs, especially during challenging times. The goal is to become increasingly aware of these patterns and increasingly skilled at redirecting your internal conversation toward thoughts that serve your highest good. Over time, positive internal dialogue becomes your natural default, creating the mental foundation for success in every area of your life. Chapter 13. Advanced Money Psychology. Your relationship with money is one of the most complex and emotionally charged aspects of your life. It's influenced by childhood experiences, cultural messages, family patterns, and deeply held beliefs about worth, security, and success. Until you understand and transform your money psychology, you'll continue to struggle financially, regardless of how much you earn or how much financial knowledge you acquire. Money psychology begins with understanding that money is never just about money. It represents security, freedom, power, status, and identity. The way you handle money reflects your deepest beliefs about yourself and your place in the world. Your financial behaviors are expressions of your psychological state, which is why purely logical approaches to money management often fail to create lasting change. Examine your earliest memories and messages about money. What did your parents teach you about money through their words and actions? Did they argue about money? Did they seem stressed or anxious about finances? Did they view money as scarce or abundant? Did they treat wealthy people with admiration or resentment? These early experiences created your financial blueprint, which continues to influence your money decisions today. Many people have conflicting beliefs about money that create internal tension and self-sabotage. They might consciously want wealth, while unconsciously believing that money corrupts people or that rich people are greedy. They might desire financial security while believing they don't deserve abundance. They might want to invest, but feel that the stock market is too risky or complicated. These internal conflicts prevent consistent wealth-building behavior. Identify your money personality type to understand your natural tendencies and blind spots. Are you a spender who finds joy in purchasing but struggles with saving? Are you a saver who accumulates money but fears investing or enjoying it? Are you an avoider who feels overwhelmed by financial decisions and tends to ignore money matters? Are you a worrier who obsesses over money and makes fear-based decisions? Understanding your type helps you work with your natural tendencies while addressing your weaknesses. One of the most destructive money psychology patterns is the scarcity mindset. This is the belief that there's not enough money to go around, that if someone else succeeds financially, it reduces your opportunities, and that you must hoard resources to protect yourself from an uncertain future. Scarcity thinking creates anxiety, prevents generous behavior, and actually repels opportunities because it makes you appear desperate and fearful. Develop an abundance mindset by focusing on opportunities rather than limitations. Instead of worrying about what you don't have, focus on what you can create. Instead of resenting others' success, study it and learn from it. Instead of hoarding money out of fear, invest it strategically to create more abundance. Abundance thinking attracts opportunities because it makes you appear confident, optimistic, and resourceful. Understand the difference between your worth as a person and your net worth as a financial measure. Many people tie their self-esteem to their financial status, feeling successful when they have money and worthless when they don't. This emotional attachment to money creates stress and poor decision-making. Your value as a human being is not determined by your bank account balance. Money is a tool for creating the life you want, not a measure of your worth as a person. Address emotional spending patterns that sabotage your financial goals. Many people spend money to cope with emotions like stress, sadness, boredom, or anxiety. Retail therapy might provide temporary emotional relief, but it creates long-term financial problems. Learn to recognize emotional spending triggers and develop healthier ways to manage difficult emotions. Exercise, meditation, socializing, or pursuing hobbies can provide emotional benefits without financial consequences. Develop a healthy relationship with risk when it comes to money. Many people are either too conservative, keeping all their money in low-return savings accounts out of fear, or too aggressive, making speculative investments they don't understand. Effective money management requires calculated risks based on education and careful analysis. Learn about different investment options and gradually build your risk tolerance through education and small experiments. Understand the psychology of spending and develop conscious consumption habits. Most spending decisions are made unconsciously, based on impulse, emotion, or social pressure. Practice conscious consumption by pausing before purchases and asking yourself, do I really need this? Will this purchase align with my values and goals? Am I buying this for emotional reasons? How will I feel about this purchase tomorrow, next week, or next month? Address money, shame, and guilt that might be preventing you from building wealth. Some people feel guilty about having money when others are struggling. Others feel ashamed about past financial mistakes or their current financial situation. These negative emotions create self-sabotage and prevent you from taking positive action. Remember that building your own wealth enables you to help others more effectively, and that everyone makes financial mistakes while learning. Learn to separate money, facts, from money stories. Facts are objective realities about your financial situation, your income, expenses, debts, and assets. Stories are the interpretations and meanings you attach to these facts. The same financial situation can be interpreted as a disaster or an opportunity depending on the story you tell yourself. Focus on the facts and choose empowering stories that motivate action rather than victim stories that create helplessness. Develop financial confidence through education and small successes. Many people avoid financial planning and investing because they feel overwhelmed or inadequate. Start with basic financial education and simple actions like tracking expenses or setting up automatic savings. Each small financial success builds confidence and motivation for bigger actions. You don't need to understand everything about finance immediately. You just need to start taking action and learning as you go. Practice delayed gratification with money to build long-term wealth. Our consumer culture encourages immediate gratification and instant purchases. But wealth building requires patience and the ability to sacrifice short-term pleasures for long-term benefits. Practice small acts of delayed gratification regularly, like waiting a day before making purchases or saving for items instead of buying them on credit. Create positive money rituals and habits that reinforce healthy financial behaviors. This might include a weekly money date where you review your finances and plan for the week ahead. It might include celebrating financial milestones or practicing gratitude for your current financial resources. These rituals help create positive associations with money management instead of viewing it as a stressful chore. Finally, remember that changing your money psychology is a gradual process that requires patience and self-compassion. You're rewiring patterns that may have been developed over decades. Be gentle with yourself as you learn new behaviors and challenge old beliefs. Focus on progress rather than perfection, and celebrate small improvements in your financial awareness and behavior. Over time, these psychological shifts will create lasting changes in your financial reality. Chapter 14. The integration of the 4 pillars. Understanding how to control your mouth, mind, mood, and money individually is important, but the real transformation happens when you integrate these 4 areas into a cohesive system of self-mastery. These pillars don't operate independently. They're interconnected parts of a larger whole. When you improve one area, it creates positive ripple effects in all the others. When you master all 4 simultaneously, you create exponential improvements in every aspect of your life. The integration begins with recognizing the fundamental connection between all 4 pillars. They all require the same core skill of self-awareness and conscious choice. Whether you're choosing your words, directing your thoughts, managing your emotions, or making financial decisions, you're exercising the same fundamental capacity to observe your impulses and choose your responses deliberately. Your mouth control supports your mind control, because choosing your words carefully requires mental discipline and focus. When you practice pausing before speaking, you're strengthening the same mental muscle you use to pause before following negative thought patterns. When you choose encouraging words over critical ones, you're training your mind to focus on possibilities rather than problems. The person who masters their speech develops the mental clarity and discipline that supports all other areas of self-control. Mind control directly influences mood control because your thoughts create your emotional experiences. When you learn to direct your thoughts toward positive outcomes and solutions, your emotional state naturally improves. When you practice cognitive reframing and challenge negative thought patterns, you develop emotional resilience and stability. The person who controls their mind rarely struggles with uncontrolled emotional reactions. Mood control enhances money control because financial decisions are heavily influenced by emotional states. When you're anxious or stressed, you're more likely to make impulsive financial choices. When you're confident and calm, you can make rational financial decisions based on long-term goals rather than short-term emotions. The person who maintains emotional equilibrium makes better financial choices consistently. Money control supports mouth control because financial stress often leads to relationship conflicts and communication problems. When you're worried about money, you're more likely to be irritable, defensive, or aggressive in your communication. When you have financial confidence and security, you can communicate more calmly and thoughtfully. The person who controls their money experiences less stress-related communication problems. The integration also works through shared foundational principles. All 4 pillars require delayed gratification, pausing before speaking, resisting negative thoughts, managing emotional impulses, and avoiding impulsive spending. All four require long-term thinking, considering the consequences of your words, focusing on your goals, maintaining perspective during emotional challenges, and making financial decisions based on future outcomes rather than immediate wants. To integrate the four pillars effectively, start each day with a brief review of your intentions in all four areas. Ask yourself, how will I practice mouth control today? What will I focus my mind on? How will I manage my mood if challenges arise? What financial choices will I make that align with my goals? This daily intention setting creates conscious awareness that supports integration throughout the day. Create daily practices that strengthen multiple pillars simultaneously. Meditation develops both mind control and mood control by training awareness and emotional regulation. Journaling can improve mind control by clarifying thoughts, mood control by processing emotions, and money control by tracking financial goals and expenses. Exercise supports mood control through endorphin release, and money control by potentially reducing stress-related spending. Use setbacks in one area as opportunities to strengthen the others. If you have a moment of poor mouth control and say something you regret, use it as practice for mind control by learning from the experience. Mood control by managing any guilt or embarrassment constructively, and money control by perhaps making a small donation to charity as a way of creating something positive from the mistake. Develop what I call cross-pillar awareness. When you notice yourself struggling in one area, immediately check the other three. If you're having money stress, are you also engaging in negative self-talk, allowing your emotions to spiral, or saying things that increase rather than decrease the stress? If you're in a bad mood, are you also spending money impulsively, thinking negative thoughts, or saying things that make the mood worse? This awareness helps you address problems comprehensively rather than just treating symptoms. Create accountability systems that address multiple pillars. Find an accountability partner or coach who can help you track progress in all four areas. Join groups or communities that support integrated personal development rather than just focusing on single issues. Read books and consume content that addresses the whole person rather than just isolated skills. Practice what I call pillar switching when you're struggling. If you're having difficulty with one area, immediately engage a different pillar to create positive momentum. If your mind is stuck in negative thought patterns, focus on mouth control by saying something encouraging to someone else. If you're feeling emotionally overwhelmed, focus on money control by reviewing your financial goals and making a small, positive financial decision. If you're tempted to make an impulsive purchase, focus on mind control by redirecting your thoughts to your long-term goals. Understand that mastery in all four areas creates a synergistic effect where the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. The person who has integrated control over their mouth, mind, mood, and money doesn't just have four separate skills. They have a comprehensive system of self-mastery that makes them effective in every area of life. They communicate with clarity and impact, think with focus and optimism, maintain emotional stability under pressure, and make financial decisions that create long-term security and freedom. Track your progress in integration by paying attention to how improvements in one area affect the others. Notice how better mood control improves your financial decision-making. Observe how stronger mind control enhances your communication. See how better money management reduces emotional stress. This awareness reinforces the interconnected nature of the four pillars and motivates continued development in all areas. Remember that integration is an ongoing process, not a destination. You'll continue to have moments when one or more pillars needs attention. The goal is to develop the ability to quickly recognize when one area is off track and use the other pillars to restore balance. Over time, this integrated approach becomes your natural way of operating, creating a life characterized by intentional choices, emotional stability, clear communication, and financial wisdom. Finally, understand that the integration of these 4 pillars is what creates true personal power. When you can control your words, thoughts, emotions, and money, you're no longer at the mercy of circumstances, other people's opinions, or your own impulses. You become the conscious creator of your experience, capable of building the relationships, achieving the goals, and creating the life you truly want. Chapter 15. Your 90-Day Transformation Plan. Knowledge without action is worthless. You can understand every principle in this presentation, but if you don't implement them consistently, your life won't change. This final chapter provides you with a specific, actionable 90-day plan to begin transforming your control over your mouth, mind, mood, and money. 90 days is long enough to establish new habits and see real results, but short enough to maintain motivation and focus. The key to successful transformation is starting small and building momentum. Most people fail because they try to change everything at once, overwhelming their system and guaranteeing failure. This plan focuses on one primary improvement each week, while maintaining awareness of all 4 pillars. By the end of 90 days, you'll have established 12 new habits and practices that will continue to compound for years to come. Week 1 focuses on developing awareness in all 4 areas. You cannot control what you are not aware of, so this week is about establishing baseline awareness of your current patterns. Each day, spend 5 minutes noting instances where you could have exercised better mouth control, mind control, mood control, or money control. Don't try to change anything yet. Just observe and record. This awareness creates the foundation for all future improvements. Week 2 introduces your first mouth control practice, the 3-second pause. Before responding to any question, criticism, or emotional situation, pause for 3 seconds. This simple practice prevents most regrettable communication and gives you time to choose your words consciously. Practice this pause in every conversation, whether significant or mundane. By the end of the week, this pause should start becoming automatic. Week 3 adds your first mind control practice. Morning intention setting. Each morning, spend 5 minutes writing down 3 things you want to focus on that day and 3 things you're grateful for. This practice directs your mind toward positive goals and opportunities rather than letting it wander toward problems and worries. Keep this practice simple and brief. Consistency matters more than perfection. Week 4 introduces your first mood control practice. Emotional labeling. When you notice a strong emotion arising, simply name it. I'm feeling frustrated. I notice anxiety coming up. Or I'm experiencing disappointment. This labeling activates your rational mind and creates space between you and the emotion. Practice this throughout the day, especially during challenging situations. Week 5 adds your first money control practice, tracking every expense for 1 week. Write down every dollar you spend, from major purchases to small items like coffee or snacks. This creates awareness of your spending patterns and often leads to natural reductions in unnecessary expenses. Don't judge your spending. Just observe and record it accurately. Week 6 focuses on eliminating one negative pattern in each area. Choose one negative mouth habit, like interrupting others. One negative mind habit, like catastrophic thinking. One negative mood habit, like dwelling on irritations. And one negative money habit, like impulse buying. For this week, focus specifically on not engaging in these 4 behaviors. This subtraction approach often creates more immediate results than trying to add new behaviors. Week 7 introduces daily reflection. Each evening, spend 5 minutes reviewing your day in all 4 areas. What went well? What could have been better? What will you do differently tomorrow? This reflection solidifies learning and helps you adjust your approach based on real experience. Keep these reflections brief and focused on specific behaviors rather than general feelings. Week 8 adds visualization practice. Spend 5 minutes each morning visualizing yourself successfully controlling your mouth, mind, mood, and money throughout the day. See yourself pausing before speaking, focusing on solutions, maintaining emotional equilibrium, and making wise financial choices. This mental rehearsal prepares your brain for success and increases the likelihood of positive behaviors. Week 9 focuses on environmental optimization. Make one change to your physical environment that supports each pillar. This might mean removing junk food from your kitchen mood and money control, placing inspiring books where you used to keep your phone, mind control, or putting a note on your bathroom mirror reminding you to pause before speaking, mouth control. Small environmental changes create automatic behavioral improvements. Week 10 introduces the concept of positive replacement. Instead of just avoiding negative behaviors, actively replace them with positive ones. When you catch yourself starting to complain, immediately say something positive instead. When you notice negative thinking, immediately redirect to gratitude or solutions. When you feel your mood dropping, immediately take 3 deep breaths. When tempted to spend impulsively, immediately check your financial goals instead. Week 11 focuses on building resilient systems. Identify your biggest trigger in each area and create a specific plan for handling it. If certain people trigger poor mouth control, practice specific phrases you can use. If certain situations trigger negative thinking, practice specific reframing techniques. If certain circumstances trigger mood problems, practice specific calming strategies. If certain emotions trigger overspending, practice specific alternatives. Week 12 integrates everything into a comprehensive daily practice. By now, you should have several small habits and practices in each area. This week, create a simple daily routine that incorporates elements from all 4 pillars. This might be a 5-minute morning practice that includes intention setting, gratitude, emotional check-in, and financial goal review. The goal is creating a sustainable daily practice that maintains your progress. Throughout the 90 days, track your progress weekly in each area. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 for mouth control, mind control, mood control, and money control each week. This tracking helps you see improvement over time and identifies areas that need more attention. Remember that progress isn't always linear. Some weeks will be better than others. Create accountability for your 90-day transformation. Tell someone you trust about your commitment and ask them to check in with you regularly. Join online communities focused on personal development. Consider working with a coach or mentor. External accountability significantly increases your chances of following through on your commitments. Prepare for setbacks and challenges during your 90-day journey. You will have days when you fall back into old patterns. You will face situations that test your new practices. This is normal and expected. The key is to get back on track quickly rather than using setbacks as excuses to quit entirely. Each setback is a learning opportunity that makes you stronger for the future. Celebrate milestones and improvements along the way. Acknowledge when you successfully use new practices, especially during challenging situations. Celebrate weekly improvements, even if they seem small. This positive reinforcement strengthens the neural pathways associated with your new behaviors and increases motivation to continue. By the end of 90 days, these practices should feel more natural and automatic. You'll find yourself pausing before speaking without thinking about it. You'll catch negative thoughts more quickly and redirect them naturally. You'll maintain emotional equilibrium more easily during stress. You'll make financial decisions more consciously and strategically. Most importantly, you'll have developed the foundation for lifelong growth and self-mastery. Remember that 90 days is just the beginning, not the end. The habits and practices you develop during this period will continue to compound and strengthen over time. After completing this initial transformation, you can deepen your practice, tackle more advanced challenges, or help others begin their own journey of self-mastery. The person you become through this process of controlling your mouth, mind, mood, and money will be fundamentally different from who you are today. You'll communicate with greater impact, think with greater clarity, feel with greater stability, and spend with greater wisdom. You'll no longer be at the mercy of your impulses, emotions, or circumstances. You'll be the conscious creator of your own experience, capable of building the life you truly want. The choice is yours. You can continue living the same patterns that brought you to this point, or you can commit to 90 days of focused transformation that will change the trajectory of your life. The knowledge is here. The plan is clear. The only question remaining is, what will you choose?